because there's some tough ones in there, like Preston away. The two away games, you see, if we can win our home game,
Yeah.
which isn't given because obviously we know it's not easy, but we can get, that would send us in good stead.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Now, at the moment, we're currently on an international break, but when we do come back, the fixtures are going to be coming in thick and fast. And we do these videos intermittently where we look ahead to our next 5 fixtures. Now, as we know from the start, there is no easy game in this league. And in this video, we're going to discuss the next 5 fixtures, what we might expect, and maybe talk about what a good points return would be during those fixtures. So, Dad, just to remind the viewers of our next 5 fixtures, we have Hull at home, we have Preston away, we have Bristol City away, Portsmouth at home, and Millwall at home. I guess an immediate positive is 3 of those games at home.
Yeah, and the last 5 that we did, Matt, they were 3 away games. In fact, actually, our points haul in the last 5 wasn't very good. In fact, our current form is we've won 1 of the last 7 league games. In our last 5, we only picked up 5 points, 1 win, 2 draws and 2 defeats. So I think this is now an opportunity for us to kick on and, start to accumulate more points. However, we're going to see that we are going to be playing some of these teams at a time when they're doing quite well as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Obviously, we're going to get into each individual team, and no spoilers. I guess people will know they watch the scores, but there's been a couple of shock results the last weekend here. So
There has, and I think I think everybody's seen now and knows from our experience of the Championship over many years that there isn't such thing as an easy game in this level anyway. No. So should we kick off with the first game then? Do you want to kick off with Hull?
Yeah, I mean, Hull have really surprised me. So with everything going off off the pitch, I thought they might have been in for a bit of turmoil this season, but they're doing all right. I mean, in fact, we're only separated. We've had exactly the same start. We're only separated by 1 goal difference. So they're one position above us, and they're on -2, and we have -3. So that's all that separates us. So on paper, we've almost had identical starts to the season, really. But one name springs to mind, Ollie McBurney.
Yeah.
He's absolutely banging him in, isn't he, Dad?
He's a free transfer. I think he's turned out so far to be the sort of one of the better signings, hasn't he? Well, definitely the better one for Hull.
Well, I believe I don't know how true it was, but we were linked with him at one point. I definitely read on social media. This is exactly why you shouldn't always believe what you read on social media. I don't know how true that was, but I believe we were rumoured to be around Ollie McBurney at some point. But good team, Dad. I have no doubt they're going to come St.Andrews and frustrate us. We are good at home. We do see teams go a little bit more defensive at home, try and frustrate us when we're at St.Andrews. And I have no doubt that Hull will be the same. Good team, definitely have to be wary of them. And there's 3 things I've noticed since watching them, Dad, since the start of the season is speed on the transition, set piece, and balls in the box.
Yeah.
They're very good at balls in the box. I've seen quite a few goals now come in from wide areas. Ollie McBurney just gets on the end of it, boom. Goal for Hull, so definitely something to be aware of. However, we are strong at home, and I think we need to kick off with a bit of momentum during these next 5 fixtures. So, Hull at home, pay them no respect. I want 3 points out of this one, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I think you summed Hull up quite well. I mean, as you mentioned, they have this transfer embargo, so that they couldn't actually sign any players, and that's obviously to do with something to do with their owner. But if you look at who they have bought in, and now they couldn't pay a fee for anybody because of the embargo, but they bought in Amir Hadzimatovic, defensive midfield from Besiktas. He's on loan. They bought in Darko Gayabi, central midfielder from Leeds. Akin Faniwu from centre-back from Sheffield Wednesday, Faniwu. Enis Destan, centre-forward from Trabzonspor, which is Turkish. You're going to get Turkish links because of their own. And, of course, Ollie McBurney, free transfer from Las Palmas. Semi Ajayi as well, centre-back from West Brom. They've recruited well. I mean, Joe Galhart as well, centre-forward from Leeds. John Lundstrom, he's a very experienced player. He was, remember, a few years ago when Sheffield United were in the Premier League prior to the last time they were in, he was a real big player for them. So considering that they haven't been able to pay a fee for anybody, they've brought in some really good players. You are right about the fact that I thought it was smart when you said they're right next to us and they are in the table, we've got the same points, and you said we're just separated by 1 goal in goal difference. Very true. But they scored 14 goals and we scored 8. So they've got a much more prolific forward line, but our defence is a lot better.
Yeah.
So this is why there's only 1 goal in it. So
it doesn't matter, though, does it? It doesn't matter that you could score 100 goals if you concede 80. You're still going to end up on the same goal difference. So fair enough, you might be scoring a lot of goals, but that still proves a defensive problem for Hull, doesn't it, to concede that many goals? Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily matter because they're scoring.
Yeah, exactly. Now, they're the fact that they're prolific scoring goals, you'd expect them to attack. We would need to be tight on defence, but we, as we know, need to improve our goal scoring opportunities. We have seen early signs of that. In a game against Wrexham, particularly the second half, we were much more on the front foot. And we mentioned before, if you haven't seen that post-match video of the Wrexham game, me and myself and Matt were talking about the difference in Birmingham City when we play at a high tempo. And I think if we use that as a template moving forward, then we'll do okay. But I agree with you. It's a home game for us. And we should look to win this.
Okay, Dad, so I think we've summed up Hull quite nicely there. That brings us on to, in my opinion, a very tough game. They've taken some big scalps already, and that's Preston away.
Yeah, another team that's done exceptionally well recruiting. I mean, they were a team that were actually in trouble last season. They were in the mix for the relegation for a while. I'm not too sure if they were involved in the last day, but I think they could have been. But and that's unlike them,
I think they
because
were.
we always talk about Preston as being a stereotypical mid-table team. But and I did say in an earlier podcast that I think that these could be dark horses because of how they recruited. Let me just give you some of the names that they've recruited. Adelegu Afaya, right back from Brighton, they paid 1.6 million for him. Paul Valentin, a good experienced right back from Sheffield Wednesday. Andrea Vukovic, a left back from FC Jaraz, I think they're a French team. Michael Smith, again, it seems they pilfered Sheffield Wednesday, haven't they? Centre forward from Sheffield Wednesday experience. Thierry Small, a left back from Charlton. I thought that was a standout signing for me. Interestingly, in the last game, they beat Charlton 2-0, and he scored a goal.
Did he?
And he really celebrated big time, apparently, in front of the Charlton fans, because they were giving him stick all game, I think.
Right.
Daniel Everson, goalkeeper from Leicester. Lewis Dobbin, we saw. I can't remember who it was against. He's on loan from, unfortunately, the team down the road that should not be named. He scored a great goal, left winger. Who was it against? It was one
against Leicester.
I'm not too sure, but what a goal that was. Alfie Devine. Basically, they've recruited very well, and they've got rid of some of their. I would say that the players that have been there a while, that have been mainstays of their team, but literally they'd ended up in a position where they were quite stale. So you're right, Matt. I mean, you look, they're fourth in the table as we stand today, having won 4. Drawn for, only lost 1.
Beat Ipswich and Leicester along the way.
That's a really good point. That is, I mean, I think they're the only 2 defeats for both of those teams so far, and they've both been at Preston. They were consecutive defeats, but some of their results as well. I mean, they drew 1-1 away to QPR at the start of the season, which is a good result because. QPR have shown that they're going to be a decent team this season. They drew 2-2 at home to Middlesbrough on top of those 2 wins against Leicester and Ipswich. But they lost. Who did they lose? Well, no, not a bad loss actually. I mean, they lost away at Portsmouth. That's their only defeat so far. 1-0 away. Drew 2-2 with Hull. Beat Charlton. 0-0 Bristol City. They've had some good results in there. I think a lot of people will look at where they are in the league and say at the moment it's only the first 9 games. But if they can obviously continue a bit of consistency, I could see them doing a good season.
I think with our away form, Daddy, if we can nab a point there, I think we'll look back on that. I think that's a fantastic point to get.
Yeah.
But no doubt it's going to be a difficult game. But the thing that made me laugh, obviously, on this list of Preston and Bristol City. Bristol City is the team we're going to come to next, but it's almost a given. 10th and 11th are usually always Preston and Bristol. And fair enough, last season they both had anomalies, really. Preston were quite poor and Bristol City made the playoffs. But usually they're in that mix, aren't they?
Yeah.
Watford, Swansea, Millwall, Preston, Bristol City. They're kind of in that mid-table range pretty consistently. What does that tell you? They're consistent. They know how to get results at this level. And all it takes, Dad, is that a team of this calibre to have a good recruitment and they push on to the next level then. Bristol City did it last season. Preston look like they might do it this season. So those mid-table teams are sometimes dangerous when they have a good recruitment. That's all it takes.
They are, but one big factor that we haven't mentioned yet that's making them a good team is their manager, Paul Heckingbottom.
Yeah.
I think he obviously is a very experienced manager and he knows the league. So, so for me, I remember last season we went there, we were 1-0 up and we lost 2-1 in the end. I think that's where Tom Wagner was in the crowd.
Yeah, Stansfield scored, and then I think they scored from a corner, and it was 2 really scrappy goals that we conceded, but they won the game.
We played well actually in that game, but we lost it, and but that's typical of like. So it wasn't last season. Season before. Wish we had played them last season. But yeah.
One player you haven't mentioned, Dad, who I love, who is their kind of anchor in the midfield, is Benjamin Whiteman. He's their centre mid, and he just keeps them ticking. He's such a good combative midfielder.
Yeah.
I really, really like him. He's one to watch out for. And I think this is a game that could be won through the midfield.
Yeah.
And at the minute, I'm seeing a bit of a lack of physicality from Blues, which worries me a little bit. So definitely, we need to go in there strong, all guns blazing, pay him no respect. And as I said, as it stands right now, if we can nab a point away at Preston, I think that'd be, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we
be a good point.
stemmed the flow with the away results when we drew at Preston because we've had some really poor away performances before that. So so I agree with you. We just need to be, consistent, not consistent, to compact and tight and see what we can do there.
Yeah, definitely, Dad. So that brings on to Bristol City, one of our number one away days in the Championship, isn't it, Bristol City? So again, not going to be an easy game. This, last season they made the playoffs, didn't they? Didn't they kind of surprise everyone a little bit by making that last-minute dash? Because, as I said in my previous statement, everyone expects Preston and Bristol City to be in that mid-table. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I think it's good for the Championship to see other teams battling for the playoffs, other teams making the automatics. It's good for football when teams like this press on. So fair play to Bristol City. And, as I said, it's one of our favourite away days. We love going to Ashton Gate, don't we? It's definitely not one we're going to miss this season. So they go into this, they won't go into this game because this will be 3 games in, but at the time of recording, they actually lost to QPR 2-1 at home at the weekend. And they'll be disappointed with that because they went 1-0 up and QPR scored in the 84th minute to win the game. I actually saw a video on Twitter with the limbs in the QPR end. It looked like, Blackburn away, Dad. For us, it kind of reminded me of that, which looked absolutely great. But, they look, to me, Bristol City look like a real unit, a team that are together. And I know fair play to, who was it? Liam Manning last season, Dad.
Yeah.
Who's currently at Norwich. I know he's in a bit of hot.
But by the time this video goes out, he might not be.
Yeah, he's in a bit of hot water. They lost to Ipswich at the weekend. I know a lot of fans aren't keen. But yeah, good team. Definitely one to watch for set pieces and counter attacks. I know Scott Twine's one of their really good creative players in the midfield, and I really love Rob Dickie. He's their centre half. I'm sure you love Rob Dickie, Dad. He's just a no flash.
Oh, he's just
an old fashioned. He's an old fashioned get stuck in centre half. I like that kind of defender, if I'm honest, and he'll definitely be solid and compact at the back for them. So again, another difficult away day for us, Bristol City.
Yeah, they started the season well, very well. They won 3 and drew 2 of the first 5. But since then, they haven't won in their last 4, so they've drawn 2 and lost 2. And obviously another defeat. You mentioned the QPR defeat. They also lost at home to Oxford, which was a real surprise. But then they've drawn after that. They've drawn with Ipswich. They're a strange team, aren't they, in terms of results? So they beat Sheffield United 4-1 first game of the season, which is a complete revenge mission for the playoff semi-final, wasn't it? Fair play to them for that. Do 0-0 at home to Charlton and drew 1-1 with Derby, then beat Hull 4-2, then 3-0 away at Sheffield Wednesday. Then they lost at home to Oxford, drew 0-0 at Preston, which is no embarrassment, drew with Ipswich, and then they lost at home to QPR. They've actually gone down to 10th in the table now, so they're only 1 point above. The table is so tight. We're in 16th in 12th, but that's because of our goal difference. So, right up to 9th with Ipswich and Bristol City, both on 13 points. So it's really tight up there. But as you mentioned, Matt, I like going to Bristol City. It's one of those grounds that we tend to do quite well over. Historically, we've done very well. But they haven't really spent a huge amount of money. They brought in Adam Rendell, defensive midfielder from Plymouth. He's the only player that they've actually played a fee for. 860k. They bought Emil. I think this is a good signing from Preston. Centre forward, 27-year-old centre forward Emil. He's done well actually from what I've seen this season. Bristol City fans, let us know what you think about him. From what I've seen, he looks excellent. Brought in Joe Lumley, goalkeeper from Southampton, and then Hirakawa. I think he was on loan last season there, and they made it permanent. He's a right winger from the Japanese league. Radek Vitek, goalkeeper from Man United 21s, and Neto Borges, left back from Middlesbrough. So we said this when we talked about Coventry in the last video at 5, that those teams that don't appear to have too many incomers is actually a good thing. Because that tells you they've already look at what Coventry do at the moment. They only made about 5 signings, including loans, over the summer. Bristol City have done exactly the same. So clearly they feel they've got a team there that can compete. Gerhard Schruber is their manager, and I think he was a bit of an unknown when he came here. But from what I've read, I think the Bristol City fans are okay with him at the moment.
Oh, good. As I said, that from their last season making the playoffs, their expectations are going to be quite high, but they're not actually doing too badly, are they? So fair play to them. Bristol City to me are a team, again, a bit like a team you mentioned there, Coventry. They seem to be heading in the right direction as a club, because they've kind of been a bit stale. And stale's maybe a bit harsh, but they've just been in that mid-table averageness, haven't they, for quite a long time. So it's nice for them to be pushing.
Well, they'll want to build. I mean, they got to the playoffs last season. They want to push on now, and they've set themselves a reasonably good platform. But the last 4 games they haven't won, so they'll want to pick up points themselves and carry on. But I think they've made a decent enough start to the season.
I agree, and that brings on to our next team, Dad. And this is a team that you've spoken quite highly of on the podcast over recent sort of months, and you've mentioned about them going about their business quietly and kind of not making too much of a noise. And that's Portsmouth at home. What are your thoughts for this one.
These are the dangerous teams because they don't make an awful lot of publicity, don't make an awful lot of noise. But you see Portsmouth, they're just building and building. They're building in the right way. They've got a great manager in John Machinio. He's been there a few years now at Portsmouth. He's built this team, and they just play for each other. From what I've seen, they look like a proper team. You know, they play, and also they're adaptable as well. I mean, they do tend to play a 4-1-2-3 formation, which is adaptable to 4-3-3. They can adapt their system. It depends on obviously what the opposition are doing. But also as well, they sort of have the ability to switch from possession football to being more direct, and they've got the players to do that as well. One thing we have to watch as well is they've got a very aggressive high press as well. So that is something that again we need to be mindful of. But I don't know about you, what you think, Matt. But I was impressed with Beadle in goal against Wrexham because he kicked the ball long when he needed to. He didn't when he felt that there was danger, I liked that. Whereas nothing wrong with Allsop. Obviously, we've got two great number ones, but Allsop tends to try and pass the ball at all occasions. With the occasional kick it forward. So I think where teams have got an aggressive high press, we have to be really, really careful.
Also, that Portsmouth are a big club. Do you not remember in the Barclays? I say the Barclays Premier League very specifically because it seems to be quite trendy to say Barclays at the minute in terms of people reminisce on their times. Listen to some of these names: Yakubu, Gary O'Neill, Peter Crouch, Canoe, Sol Campbell, Jermaine Defoe, David James.
Yeah.
they had some big names down at Fratton
Gary
Park.
O'Neill's the best one.
Well, he's actually gone on to have a decent managerial career as well, hasn't he, Gary
And
O'Neill?
he co-hosts a podcast as well.
There you go. But yeah, no. To be honest with you, Dad, I don't think I can add much to what you've said. I've picked up on all the same things. My only thing which we need to be aware of as well, a lot of their goals come from out wide. So they like to get the ball in the box. Again, it's another team.
Don't you think that's typical of a lot of teams in the Championship, though?
It is, but the reason why I like referencing that is because I think we're particularly vulnerable to teams that like to play out wide because we're not very good at the moment of balls in the box, whether it be from a set piece, whether it be from a long throw, whether it be from balls in the box. We are vulnerable to that, in my opinion. I think we need to get stronger with that. So I think it's worth referencing when a team is strong on the wings to call it out where it is. So just something to be worried about. And of course, transitions. I think you referenced something good there, Dad. They're good in possession and they can also go direct. Those teams tend to be good on the transition as well, fast, can get the ball up the pitch quickly when you do make a mistake or punish you. So again, I like the term you use, dangerous team, because I think these fly under the radar. They might be quite unassuming, but they're going to take no prisoners when they come to St.Andrews.
They're going to do okay this season, Portsmouth. And just to show where they are on the table, they're basically 2 places above us, but on the same points as well. So they, just a very, very quickly, few of their results. They lost at home to Norwich 2-1 early in the season, but drew 1-1 at West Brom. Good result. Beat Preston, which we talked about because we've spoken about Preston a few minutes ago, and they drew 0-0 at Southampton. Now, Southampton are having a lot of draws this season, but that's still a good result. Lost at home to Sheffield Wednesday, though, which I found quite strange. But we saw Sheffield Wednesday a few weeks ago at St.Andrews, and we got a last-minute equaliser against them.
Not a bad side.
So I'm not saying that was a bad result. Lost 2-1 at Ipswich, 2-2 at Watford, and then they beat Middlesbrough. So they beat some good teams, So
that was one of my ones that when I opened it up, I said there's been some shocks. Them beating Middlesbrough 1-0 was one of the ones I was referencing.
I think Preston as well. I mean, at the moment, you look at the league tables. So basically, they beat Preston, they beat Middlesbrough. That's their two wins, and then the other win was the first game of the season away at Oxford. So
that is odd form, isn't it?
And then go and lose at home to Sheffield Wednesday.
Very bizarre.
That's inconsistent. So that tells me that if a team keeps beating the top teams and struggling against the one, that's going to be a mid-table team. In my opinion,
you're right.
That's what I think.
Yeah, well, with those teams, all it takes is a bit of a push with the lower teams, and suddenly you're in the playoffs, isn't it? But anyway,
I must admit, I do admire Portsmouth the way that they're building. I think they are a team that will get better and better over the next couple of seasons, and I think they'll be challenging at some point to get out of that division in the right way.
Yeah, I agree. That final, last but no means least, Dad, a team I quite respect actually. I know they come with a bad rap. I think we do as well, but another great result for this team at the weekend. They beat West Brom 3-0, and we our final one of the 5 is us hosting Millwall. Yeah,
good game. I mean, I actually like going to Millwall. It's one of them. It's one of them grounds. Their song as well is brilliant, isn't it? No one likes us. We don't care. We could say that about Blues as well. I think there is a lot of similarities with the team.
The working class thing, isn't it? That a lot of fans contribute to both clubs. There's kind of like a mutual respect, like almost like with the nasty side of the game. It's like have a punch up, shake hands, and walk home. Isn't it? It's a bizarre kind of love-hate relationship.
That, which is disappearing more and more from football. Is this old style type of club? The ones that the nitty gritty, get stuck in type of thing. The fans are what they are. Both clubs. They don't try and be anything else. And so there is a lot of similarities. Having said that, though, we still want to beat them, and I think Alex Neil's done a decent job. He nearly got them in the playoffs last season. I think he had a late push towards the end. They currently sit 8th in the table. Had a strange, again they're inconsistent as well. Again go through some of their results. They beat Norwich 2-1 away start of the season, but I think Norwich haven't won at home yet, have they? Then they lost 3-0 at home to Middlesbrough. Then they beat Sheffield United 1-0 away. Then they lost at home to Wrexham 2-0. 1-1 draw against Charlton away. Beat Watford 1-0 at home. 1-1 draw away at Swansea. Then 4-0 defeat at home to Coventry. We saw how good Coventry
there's
are.
no shame in that.
Yeah,
is
no.
there?
And then so they lose 4-0 at Coventry. Then they go and beat West Brom.
That's what's hard, isn't it? Because West Brom are no pushovers. They were great. West Brom were a good Championship team. To lose 4-0 and then win 3-0. It's bizarre, isn't it? Dad, what did you say about Portsmouth? Inconsistent?
And that, to me, I was just about to use that word, clearly is inconsistent. That puts them currently 8th in the table, 2 points above us. Obviously, by the time we play them, this is the 5th of our 5 fixtures, so the league table would have changed dramatically since then. But, look at some of their... they spent a bit of money, They bought in Josh Coburn for a centre-forward from Middlesbrough. 6.4 million they paid for him. I think but he obviously he's 22-year-old, he's a young lad. Caleb Taylor, another 22-year-old centre-back from West Brom, paid 2.9 million for him. Derek Mazusako, centre-back from Rodez AF, I'm not too sure, I think that might be French, $500,000. Max Crocombe, a goalkeeper from Burton. Another goalkeeper, Joel Coleman from Bolton. Massimo Luango, a 32-year-old centre midfielder from Ipswich, bit of experience. Zach Sturge. Alfie Doherty, I thought he was a good signing. And I think, when you look at the issues and problems that Luton have got, selling players like Alfie Doherty is probably a big reason why or one of the reasons why they're struggling. But they're a good solid team and a good experienced team with a good manager. But it's the inconsistency that's going to kill them. They've got to, like all teams. If you've got to put a good consistent run through together and not have we're in it at the moment, aren't we? Start off draw, win, then loss, draw, win, loss. And this is very similar to the pattern that have followed.
It's not uncommon, though, at the start of the season. Teams are still finding their feet a bit, aren't they? Finding their best 11. Blues especially. I'd say Chris Davies hasn't found his best 11 yet. So we're going to take a bit of time to transition. Who knows what's happening at other clubs as well? We don't know that inside information. But from what I've seen against Millwall, Dad, very physical, very, very compact, very, very good team. But where are your time then? So let's get into our additional questions after the 5 then. So I'm going to pose it to you because you normally pose it to me, Dad. What do you think would be a good point to return then from these next 5 games?
Ideally, you'd like to think 2 points a game is where you'd want to be. So you'd want 10 points. But looking at those 5 fixtures, I'm thinking probably 8 to 9 points, I think, are good. Because there's some tough ones in there, like Preston away. The two away games, you see, if we can win our home game, which isn't given because obviously we know it's not easy, but we can get, that would send us in good stead. So I'm going to go for 8 or 9 points for those fixtures would represent a decent return for me.
I think all those home games are winnable.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we're going to win them. I'm saying they're winnable. So for me, I'm going to go 9 points. And if we can get anything from those away games, it's an additional bonus on top.
Yeah. And we've got to bear in mind, we are in the Championship here now. It's not like last season.
No.
Where you could say, we're going to get 15 points from 5 games. This is, I think there has to be a sense of acceptance of the quality of what's around us. If we can get 9 points, I think that would represent a good return from that. Any more than that,
a bonus
is a bonus.
Yeah. You have to be good at home. You have to get your core points from home, and we are good at home. And I think Hull, Portsmouth and Millwall are winnable games at home at St.Andrews.
Yeah.
And as I said, if we can get anything from Preston and Bristol City...
Well, so far at home, we've won 2 and drawn 2 at home. So we've still got that unbeaten record. We nearly lost it against Sheffield Wednesday, and we only had a last-minute goal against Swansea to win that. We beat Oxford 1-0. So, we have got the home advantage.
Yeah.
So, and as 3 of the 5 are at home, then you'd think, well, if we can pick up decent point haul in those 3 games and then see what we can do away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But as always, Birmingham City supporters, we would love to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Maybe you're a supporter from any of the other 5 that we've referenced on this video. Maybe you've seen this channel before. Maybe you've seen the thumbnail with your club's logo on it. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below as well. And if you did like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also on Spotify, so you can listen and watch us over there as well. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and press that bell icon so you get notified every time we post. And myself and Dad will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.